Welcome to the Crypto Guild. I am your host, Rahul, and I created this channel really for all the crypto enthusiasts out there who want to better understand the exciting new world of cryptocurrencies and all the technologies that power it. So we're going to talk about use cases, tokens, breaking news, in-depth technology reviews, and a whole lot more. So if you're looking to understand this complex landscape in an easy to understand way, you are absolutely in the right channel. Let's get started. Now, if you're new to the world of crypto, you need to understand certain factors that sort of influence this crypto market so that you are better informed to make buy and sell decisions, keeping these various factors and dynamics in mind. So it doesn't matter to me whether you're a trader or whether you're a hodler. Either way, these are things you need to know and understand about the crypto market so that you're able to make more informed decisions, right? I've been following the crypto market since about 2016, and I noticed a few things along the way. And so I wanted to start to share that with the community so that you too can look at these markets and better navigate them. Let's get started. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin and Bitcoin whales and sort of what influence that has on the overall price movements that we see in the crypto market. So you guys know, right? Bitcoin was like the first crypto. It currently has a market cap of about 728 billion at the time of shooting of this video. And the next closest is Ethereum at about 319, 320 billion or thereabouts. So just historically, what you need to understand is a large part of the market cap has always been in Bitcoin. That means the overall in money flows. Bitcoin holds a majority, and then Bitcoin is sort of compared against all the other altcoins. So it has a major role to play in the markets, right, in terms of the composition of the market. So it would be natural to sort of even guess that a lot of folks use Bitcoin for trading purposes. Now, this is where the whales come in. So who are the whales? The whales in the crypto world are essentially folks who have a large number of Bitcoin compared to your average sort of user, right? And when someone has a large amount of Bitcoin, what they can do is they can actually move the market, right, in whatever way they want to. So just as an example, suppose I have 250 Bitcoin and I want to get rid of all of it today, right? So I would just go on to an exchange and let's say I start to put in market orders. So that's the orders where whoever or whatever are the selling prices at that given point in time, I'm just going to indiscriminately go ahead and sell at whatever prices people are willing to buy at, right? And so when I have such a large order, what tends to happen is the price of Bitcoin will, in this example, will go down, right? And so you can essentially move the markets if you have a large sum of Bitcoin or any asset for that matter, but Bitcoin especially, since it holds such a large part of the overall crypto market cap. And the only parallel that you can draw is that in the securities world, or in the world where you're buying stocks, if a large stock purchase or sale needed to happen, it actually does not happen on the stock market where we're used to trading. It actually happens on something called OTC desks. OTC means over the counter. So it's sort of like a private transaction that's facilitated between a certain number of buyers and sellers, and it usually involves large volumes of buy or sell, and then it's done kind of off the market. And the reason it's done off the market is so that it does not have an undue influence on price of the particular asset or stock in this case in question. So since the overall crypto markets are not regulated, largely unregulated, what we see, or we have been seeing for many years now, is that these Bitcoin whales just come in, and depending on whether they're selling or buying, they're able to really influence the markets quite a bit. And that's really the reason you see these large swings in prices. They swing upwards of 30%, downwards of 30%, all happening within a couple of weeks. So those are just actually Bitcoin whales trying to capture some profit. So you need to understand that about about this market. So if I have two key takeaways for you, this is what they would be from this section of the video. So the first key takeaway is that the price and demand, right, for Bitcoin plays an extremely important role in the overall crypto market price movements. That's number one. And number two is, given what we've seen of the behavior of these like crypto whales, you can you can expect to continue to see a lot of like wild price fluctuations in a short period of time. That's not going to change anytime soon. And the only reasons why that might change in the future is if there's like a major redistribution of Bitcoin, and or these actors or these whales decide to change their behavior. But everything right now suggests that we're going to continue to see these major swings over a short period of time in the overall crypto market, right? So those are the key takeaways, guys. And now let's move into the next section where we're going to talk a little bit about Bitcoin dominance, altcoin dominance, and sort of what relationship they have with each other. All right, let's talk about Bitcoin dominance and what role it plays in the market. So first, before we look at what these charts are on the screen, let's get a basic understanding of what Bitcoin dominance is. So quite simply put, Bitcoin dominance is the share of Bitcoin's market capitalization, right, compared to the rest of the entire crypto altcoin market, right? And so because Bitcoin has always sort of been a major share of the overall crypto market, certain trends have been noticed over time between the relationship of Bitcoin and all the other altcoins, and what happens when the dominance of one increases compared to the other, right? So I'm going to show you a few examples. Let's look at these charts, right? So the first chart, the one on top, right? This is actually a chart talking about the market cap of BTC from a dominance perspective, right? So this is only Bitcoin's like dominance or market cap increases, decreases over like time. So this particular chart is showing us from 2017 onwards, right? The chart at the bottom is the dominance of all the altcoins. So all the Ethereums, your Chainlinks, your Polkadots, all the other ones, EOS, all the other ones, essentially without Bitcoin, right? So the one on top is Bitcoin's sort of dominance or market cap movements, right, over time. And the bottom one is all the altcoin market cap sort of movements over time. And I've sort of put them on the same screen to help you understand sort of what the relationship is between the two, or what's been noticed at least thus far about the relationship between the two. So let's look at a couple of examples just to get clear on this, right? So if you notice here on top, this was in November 2017, and Bitcoin's dominance begins to fall like pretty sharply, as you can see over here. The funny thing is, if you look at the bottom, you'll see that starting in December of 2017, early December 2017, when Bitcoin's dominance was decreasing, what do we notice over here? That the altcoin dominance started increasing, right? So they have an inverse relationship. Let's look at another example. In April of 2018, a few months later, again, Bitcoin's dominance begins to fall. And what do we notice at the bottom? We notice that the altcoin dominance starts, right? So they have an inverse sort of relationship, and this will generally be true across the board. And let's look at the most recent example of this. So in January of 2021, like this year, we've noticed that Bitcoin dominance has begun to fall like big time. And just look at what is happening with the altcoins. You'll notice that the altcoins have like shot up as hard or as fast as Bitcoin has been like dropping. So what's the key takeaways here? So the key takeaway here is that when Bitcoin dominance is rising, altcoin dominance is falling, right? And when altcoin dominance is rising, Bitcoin dominance is falling. And the reason that happens is because money is essentially being moved from Bitcoin into the alts and then back again, right? So that's sort of like the market cycle. So now that we've understood, like from a dominance perspective, what the relationship is, let's look at another factor that contributes towards price action in the crypto market in general. So let's talk about Bitcoin halving. All right, so let's talk about another factor that influences the price of Bitcoin. So this is known as Bitcoin halving, and sort of the high level of it is that we all know that Bitcoin has a limited supply of 21 million coins, right? These coins are generated by the network at different points in time, right? And so the miners who actually secure the Bitcoin network, or the ones who write the transactions, who commit the transactions into the Bitcoin blockchain, they get a reward for like doing so. So when the Bitcoin blockchain launched, for example, the reward was actually 50 Bitcoins, believe it or not, per block that they mined, right? And then every about 4 years or so, this block reward gets cut in half. Okay, so we had our first halving in 28 November of 2012, where it came down to like 25 blocks as the record. We had another one in July of 2016, where the block reward is now 12.5 Bitcoin per block. And we just had our third halving sometime around May of last year. And so currently, the block reward for Bitcoin is 6.25. So why are we even talking about this? Well, what we've noticed is that every time a Bitcoin halving takes place, generally speaking, between the halving event and the next halving event, we've always seen the price of Bitcoin rise, right? So if you look at this particular chart, it's showing you from the time of the halving, even though price action has been choppy, eventually it's always reached a higher point, right? So it's happened every single time thus far. And we are currently in halving number 3 here, expected in May of 2020, which happened like last year. So now it remains to be seen what Bitcoin's price does over the next 3 years or so. But as a general trend, this is something that's been sort of noticed, right? So let's take a closer look. So from the first halving that Bitcoin had, from Bitcoin's launch to the first halving, price actually increased 3,700%, right? From 3,150 to about 1,178. And then in the next halving, from the first to the second halving, right? The price increased from 1,178 to about almost 20,000, right? 19,800. So this is a 1,600% increase. And now we are actually in this particular wave where we're going from the second halving to the third halving, right? And we're going to see what the price is. So again, just important for you to sort of know that the Bitcoin halving process does play a role in the price of Bitcoin. And since Bitcoin is such a major part of the overall crypto market, you will begin to see trends in the market, right? Which we spoke about slightly earlier. So this is another factor you want to keep in mind, right? So whether you're a hodler or a trader, you want to keep these facts in mind about how to start understanding the Bitcoin market. All right, so what generally happens when we are in a crypto sort of bull market? I found this on Twitter by someone who calls themselves the Secrets of Crypto, and I thought that was a pretty good representation, but just keep in mind, this is a very high level and rough guide, okay, of what takes place. You can't follow this map exactly because things will not transition from one phase to another in a smooth kind of way. There will be like overlap. So just keep that in mind. It's just a broad guide for you to try and put some structure, right, around your purchase and selling activities, right, for crypto. So let's get into the path of alt season. So what is alt season? Alt season is a function of the market due to new participants flooding into crypto around the same time. Now, this typically happens when the Bitcoin halving takes place, which we discussed earlier, or there might be other factors, or there might be other factors in play, such as loss of faith in fiat currencies and a bunch more. But the general trend is that once this has started, it happens in about 4 different phases. And the one thing to keep in mind about these 4 phases is that they're sort of parabolic in nature, which means that phase 1 is the longest phase and phase 4 is the shortest phase. So let's just talk through what these phases are and how we can sort of use these phases to kind of understand the flow of money in and out of these various like currencies, right? So phase one is Bitcoin, and that's typically when new entrants, again, when new entrants are entering the market, the price of Bitcoin surges and you see it going parabolic, right? And that's happened this year already. It's broken its all-time highs, right? When this phase is beginning to close out, you're going to start to notice that Ethereum, right, the biggest alt out there, is what is going to start to sort of rise, but it's going to struggle to keep up with Bitcoin. This is while we're going from phase one into phase two. So Ethereum will go back and forth, and eventually it's going to start outperforming Bitcoin, right? And so once that's happened, we're actually into phase two. So Ethereum is now definitely outperforming Bitcoin, and we hear talks of the flippening, which is pretty funny. So the flippening, just for you guys, is the concept that Ethereum's market capitalization will overtake Bitcoins at a certain point. And we have this conversation or this speculation, whatever you want to call it. The whole crypto world talks about it, about the fact that it's actually going to happen this year. So that's what the flippening is, right? After phase two, as we move into phase three, right, we're what we start to see in an overlap is that money starts flowing into large caps, and we see large sort of buy-ups happening. So what happens in phase three is Ethereum consistently has been outperforming Bitcoin, and large cap sort of coins are going absolutely parabolic, right? You're getting new all-time highs, and they're beginning to outperform even Ethereum. And so when we actually get into phase four, which is alt season, and it's actually the smallest phase of all the phases you see on the screen, it usually starts by some altcoins with strong fundamentals starting to rise, right? But when we're in full-blown alt season, we are actually in full-blown craziness, right? Large caps have gone full vertical. They beat their all-time highs. Mid caps, low caps, micro caps, all of them tend to be like rising. Large caps are outperforming Bitcoin and Ethereum. It seems like every single coin is just going absolutely parabolic, and there's absolute mayhem in the market. It's just a sea of green. Everyone's super excited, and you feel the mania in the air. This phase lasts for the least time, and then it kind of starts again. Money starts to move away from these phases back into like Bitcoin, and we have this sort of trend that happens. Again, just a rough guidepost. This is very good for you to know that this is generally how it works, and again, it just helps to put some structure around your buying and selling activities, right? Yeah, and so that's all we have for this section. And I'm just going to leave you guys with a video that was sent to me back in 2017. It is absolutely brilliant. It talks about the journey of crypto, and it just represents it in one of the best ways I've seen. So I'm going to leave you guys with a minute or two of that video, and I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. All right. All right, guys, this is the video I was talking about. I got this back in 2017. Absolutely brilliant. This is from @JimBTC. It is amazing. So this is the best representation I've seen of what the ride looks like when you get involved with crypto. Hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did.
No, no, no! Oh, wait, much better! Oh, yeah!
guys. Hope you enjoyed that video. I just wanted to do a quick recap of the points we've sort of touched upon, sort of the key takeaways from everything we've covered so far. And these are great tips for beginners who are, starting to understand like the dynamics of the crypto market, right? So point number one that we went through was the demand, supply, and price of Bitcoin plays an extremely important role in the overall movement of the crypto markets, right? And secondly, the large price fluctuations, which are primarily driven by whales, it's here to stay, right? So unless we see a fundamental redistribution of Bitcoin or a dramatic change in the behavior of these whales, we're going to continue to see large price fluctuations. Third, history shows that Bitcoin dominance has an inverse relationship with altcoin dominance, right? And history also shows that every time a BTC halving takes place, it leads to a rise in the price of Bitcoin, leading into the next halving. And as you guys know, the halving happens approximately every 4 years. And then once the crypto bull market does arrive, it tends to loosely follow a sequence of events where money flows from Bitcoin into Ethereum, into the large caps, and then into full-blown alt season, and then eventually a reversal takes place, right? So thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you found this helpful to start to try and understand and navigate these crypto markets. And until next time, peace.